Introducing our panelists for our webinar today. The new CRS credit reporting option that we are putting out to everybody. Our two presenters are Sean Hover, the Director of Strategic Partnerships at CRS Group, and Jason Domazet, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at CRS Group. Sean, go ahead and take it away.
Hello, thank you, Ellie. Appreciate it. So yeah, we are CRS Group, Credit Reporting Services. We have been in talks with the NHRC to put together a program for you guys for a tri-merge report. So we're going to talk a little bit about our company, how we, what we do exactly, and then how Jason will get into a little bit of the pricing and the different methods that you can pull the data. And then we'll get into a little bit of how our onboarding process looks like. So we can go ahead and move on from here. Just our vision statement and our mission statement. We are a user-friendly platform, obviously, and our mission is to provide access to regulated data and make it, as consumable and as easy for companies like you. Go ahead. So we've been around for 25 years. I've been in the space since 2001, and Jason has been in the space for a reasonable amount of time as well. I think probably longer than I have. We are a certified CRA. We'll get into a little bit of the software, and we do have a great support system. We have a 24-hour support team. We have a CSM team, and we have another resource. We have a support line, email line that you guys can contact at any time as well. Next. So we are a single source of credit data. On top of the tri-merge report, we also have a plethora of other data. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. We make compliance very simple. Instead of having to go through the 3 credit bureaus, we do everything in-house. We have our own compliance team, and we make it very easy for you. We have our own portal that we have created that supports all your documents, and we make it very, very easy and very responsive. We come up with a cost that Jason will go over for the NHRC membership. We think is a very good price point, and I think you guys will enjoy it. And again, we're a partner you guys can trust. We've been around the space for a long time, and we're very dedicated to our membership that we serve. Go ahead. So the process goes, the consultation, that's pretty much this part that we're going through right now. And then the vetting. So with the vetting part, we'll get into that a little bit more too. We do all the vetting in-house, and depending on which method you go through, if you're going through the web access or if you're going to build an API direct, there'll be some testing involved. The onboarding process, again, we're going to go into that in detail at the very end, so there's no need to get into that right now. The implementation part would be, again, if we were working with the API, our implementation team would work directly with your developers and make sure that we're hitting the benchmarks and hitting all those timelines and getting this done in a timely manner. And then from there, obviously, you just go ahead and launch, and you'd be good to go. Next slide, please. So our customer value, obviously accuracy, we have a direct link to all 3 of the credit bureaus. So you're getting the data directly from the credit bureau. There's no middleman. We're pushing that data directly through. So you're going to have access to everything that's on the credit report, every attribute there is, credit score, depending on which credit score you go with. We are SOC 2 certified, so security is not a problem. The speed, it's milliseconds. And usually when we have developers on here, they like to really get into the milliseconds and how quick it is, but it's an instant response that you'll get. And of course, we're scalable. We work with companies that pull just 5 records a month, and then, companies that do thousands a day. So we will grow with you as, we can keep up with whatever you got. So next slide. And of course, we work with all 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, but we also have ancillary data. So we have LexisNexis products, PitchPoint products, CIC products. So if you have a need for criminal data or eviction data, pretty much any data that's needed to assess financial risk, we have access to, and we'll be happy to share that product catalog with you if you're looking for something outside of just the regular credit data. Next. And there's a couple different ways too. I mean, obviously you could build an API, but we also have Salesforce extension and Zoho extensions. So if you're working within those platforms, we could work with you there as well.
And I can interject if you don't
Sure.
mind, Sean.
No.
We have quite a few housing counseling centers that are using products like HomeKeeper, which we know is native to Salesforce. And there is a partner that we have that also has an integration with Salesforce that allows access for that data to be drawn right into HomeKeeper. Along with that, we can provide just simple web portal access if you are doing more manual processing at this time. And then the API access that Sean keeps mentioning is a way for your developers to work with our implementation team. If you're using a proprietary CRM as an example, or a proprietary system that would allow you to import that data and parse it out appropriately within your own context. And then we also have, of course, integrations with Freddie Mac. So these reports can be reissued, and you can use the tools with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae that are very typical for housing counselors to use.
Excellent. Next slide. This is, just talking more about, we have accurate data. It's affordable. You can move on to the next slide. So again, we have alternative data. Like I said, we have access to bankruptcy liens, judgments, property ownership information, eviction. And like I said, we have, access to many data sets, and we'll be able to send you that product catalog that will give you a fresher look at other data that might be usable in your instance. So next.
Right. Once again, we've got a few housing counseling centers that pull more than just credit reports, specifically the lien and judgment information. If the consumer is presenting you with situations that may have resulted in civil liens or judgments, which might affect their ability to finance a property down the road. Like Sean mentioned, criminal and eviction. We work with some of the top providers in the nation for that history.
Next slide. And again, we work with a lot of different verticals, and we do work very closely with the housing counseling vertical, and we have probably 150 different companies that we work with, and we have great recommendations. If you want to see a recommendation or hear a recommendation from anybody, more than happy to supply that. And then next. That's it. So that's it for that slideshow right now. Jason's going to get a little into the pricing and the different methods that you can pull the data from. And then I'm going to go into a little bit of how the onboarding process looks like and share that with you. So go ahead, Jason.
Sure. So for a pricing perspective, our base pricing is going to be very simple. We know that most housing counseling centers are interested in pulling in tri-merge reports with FICO scores. Our base price for that's going to be $21.99. We do know that there is some interest now in pulling in Vantage scores simply because of guidance from the GSEs. Vantage score has a slight economic edge. So a tri-merge for a report with a Vantage score would be $19.99. And then our one-time upfront setup fee, including the on-site inspection that's required for us to onboard you, is going to be $150. Now, if there are additional considerations, and we will uncover those during our exploratory call. Once you guys have determined that you would like to partner with us for those reports, we can talk about additional fees that may be applicable. Like if you're using Salesforce as an example, access to our product through Salesforce is through a company called Credit Checker by Cloud Maven. So they do have some ancillary costs that are associated with use of that product that are outside of ours. As well as if there is going to be some sort of complex integration with a proprietary CRM, there may be additional API fees that range anywhere from $500 to $1,000, but that's for substantially complex work. And that's for us to help you get over the finish line and onboarded with full implementation into a proprietary platform. Otherwise, we work with a lot of major LOSs. Like I said, we have the integrations with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for reissue purposes. So there's a great deal of information that we will uncover during the exploration call when you guys first meet with Sean. so we can help put you on the right path and make sure that everything is economically advantageous over current providers.
Cool. Thanks, Jason.
And I'll let you move on to onboarding.
Sure. So a little bit about the onboarding process. So we have created our own portal. And in this portal would be where your service level agreement would live, your pricing addendum would live, and then all your necessary business verification documents that are requirement by the credit bureaus. So that would be like the Secretary of what you have listed with the Secretary of State, proof of business, proof of phone, that type of thing. We'll get into that a little bit down the line here, but we do have our own portal. We have our own compliance team. We have such a great relationship with the credit bureaus that we're allowed to do this, as well as the on-site. So as Jason mentioned, the on-site, there's a cost of $150 for that to get that set up. And I can share that information with you as well, what that contains. It's usually, and you've probably done it in the past, they want to see that you have signage on the door, that you have locking filing cabinets, general public doesn't have access to your computers, that type of thing. So just the general things that are a requirement by the credit bureaus, we do that all in-house, and we are really good at it. We do it pretty quick too. So the turnaround time for you guys to get set up is pretty quick. So if you want to start scrolling through, or would you like me to share my screen and me scroll, Ebony?
Sean, do you want to hit the X at the top next to all tools?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
I'll stop sharing. You should be able to share.
Okay.
Oh. Sorry. There we go.
Okay. Okay.
yeah. One of the great things about us, as Sean gets into this, is that we've really operationalized and created some great efficiencies for our onboarding path. We know it's very typical for customers that are onboarding with other CRAs to have to go through, emailing and, potentially faxing, depending on the CRA that you're working with. Our solution is really based on, we're a technology company first and foremost, along with a credit data provider. So our entire process reflects that. So as Sean goes through this, please keep in mind that, you're in the driver's seat the entire onboarding process, meaning that there's full visibility. There's full ability to upload documentation at will whenever you would like. That documentation will be reviewed upon upload. So as Sean goes through this presentation, just remember that we've created some substantial efficiencies that you likely won't see with other partners.
Excellent. Yep. So just to give you an idea of who we are, this is me, Sean. Our compliance team consists of Michelle and Lynn and their boss, Janet. And as Jason said, when you come on board and you start uploading your documents, likely they'll be in contact with you, assuring that we have the correct documents and that everything is done in the proper manner. And then if you're going to be implementing an API or talking about the Zoho extension or the Salesforce extension, Kevin and Theo here would be involved in that. So the onboarding process, as we said, would be first off would be contracting. We'd have to discuss first which option, if you wanted to do the tri-merge with the FICO score versus the Vantage score, which way you want to go. And then depending on if you're going to be using an API or going web portal direct. If you're going to be using the web portal direct, it's going to be pretty easy implementation and pretty quick. Again, the API takes a little bit longer just because your development team needs to get acclimated with the data, with the Postman collection, and we'll have our sales engineer team walk you through that process as well. The vetting part itself is pretty easy. Like I said, you would sign the documents. We send those to you via Zoho Sign, and then you'd upload your business verification documents directly into the portal. I'm going to show you an example of the portal later in this slide deck here. And then the implementation, depending on if you're going web portal using the sandbox, we set you up with the sandbox first to make sure that everything is running the way that you want it to, and then your live credentials will be presented at that time after the implementation is completed. So the contracting is pretty easy. Like I said, we got to select the products that you want first, and if you want any ancillary data as well, that'd be the time that we discuss that and make that part of the pricing proposal. Sign the contracts, get access to the portal, or start the API connection. And then the payment details, that is used, like Jason said, for the on-site, that is a requirement by the credit bureau. So we need to get that up front to get the on-site done. And that's all done through the portal.
And just for clarification, we do bill monthly. So our invoicing is done by our billing department on the 5th of the month following for all the transactions that occurred during the prior month.
And then as you upload your documents, like I said, Michelle and Lynn will be taking a look at those on the back end and making sure that the documents are entered correctly. Sometimes they're entered in the wrong place, and they'll rearrange that, or they'll send you messages to make sure that we're getting it all done correctly. And then we go to that onsite, as we mentioned. The onsite is done differently now too. They used to do an actual onsite where they came to the property, but we have, like I said, such a great relationship with the credit bureaus that we have our own system now where we send you an email. You just have to provide the details of the information. So you'd have to have the geographical locator on your phone to take the pictures and then answer the questions. It's a very easy process, and you can do it anytime, 24 hours a day. It's up to you. The implementation, again, if you're going to be using an API, we'd set up that sandbox. We get details, have our development team work with your development team. Again, setting up timelines and benchmarks to make sure that we're hitting those so everything's done in a timely process. And then go live. From there, you can start pulling your reports. And like I said, it's instantaneous. The reports that you pull, you'll have access to. We do keep them for 7 years, so you'd have access in our retention system to go back and if you ever needed to review or go back over something, you'd have access to that as well. So this is the introduction to the portal. When you're given an invitation, you'd click on the invitation, and this is what would appear. So this would be your onboarding progress wheel right here to show you how far we've gone. First would be the contracts. That would be the service level agreements and the pricing addendum. And if there's any other addendums that need to be signed, would be available there. The compliance checks, the onsite. And down below here is your company information, and then your user management. So whoever we have contracted to help, upload the documents would be in here, but you also have the opportunity to add more people in here if you needed to as well. So in the portal, this is what you'd see if you clicked on contracts. So the non-disclosure agreement would be there, the service level agreement. You just click on this and it would bring you to the Zoho sign. In the contracting phase, whoever is going to be contracted to sign the contracts, I usually send them that in an email so they don't have to go to the portal, and it'll just be uploaded in the portal for you. To make it easier, we're going to need the photo ID of the person signing the documents. And those are just as easy as uploading, taking a picture and just dragging into the box. We make it very simple for you. And of course, I'm happy to walk any of you through the portal at any time, which usually, it gives you a lot of sense of stability if I can walk you through there and just show you how easy it is as well. The documents that would be required would be the proof of business, like I said, usually the articles of incorporation. It may be different per company. I mean, I know it changes for the different verticals that we're in. So the checking account could be either a voided check or just a statement from your bank account. We don't need to see any numbers. They can be redacted. We just need to know that you have an established account. Marketing materials that are available through your housing counseling. They just want an example of that. The phone number, if you have the phone bill of the company, that would be great. If not, we can always call that number and have it verified. So it usually shouldn't be a hindrance. The letter of intent, obviously, just going to say, you're pulling this for housing counseling and the estimated number of reports you plan on pulling a month. Again, these are all requirements by the credit bureaus. They just want to, establish the company, the business, and have an idea of what it is you guys are doing. We always need authorization from the consumer. So we want to see a copy of your consent form. If that's part of your application, we just ask you to upload your application so that shows the consumer's consent at the bottom of it there. And then if you are a 501c3, we need to have evidence of that. And then some customer contracts and disclosures. That's it. We make it pretty easy. Those are all the documents that are necessary. And like Jason said before, we have our own proprietary system, so we make it very quick. As fast as you guys want to move, getting this information uploaded, we can get it going and get your credentials ordered.
Yeah, depending on the way you're accessing reports, we typically can have our standard customers up and running in about a week. Sometimes quicker. I mean, if everybody is highly engaged and everything is provided to us all at once, we can escalate it through vetting and ask them to prioritize and move you through that pipeline so you can start pulling reports from us as quickly as you'd like.
That is it for us. We will share our information. I think Ellie's going to share our information with you, how you can get a hold of me directly, and we can walk through the process from there, answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Okay. So I see some Q&As here in the Q&A
Yep,
box. Ellen, would you
I
like me to-
will manage those.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so there's quite a few people who are asking if this is a softball.
It is a softball by the nature of the report being used for housing counseling. It is a softball report.
Okay. Will this integrate with Counselor Max?
You know, I will have to validate that. I am not sure. And then that's an answer I can get back to you with Ellie, so you can share that with the participant that asked that.
Sure, and you did, I think, if I remember correctly, we did talk about this integrating with Compass, did we not?
It is Encompass. Yes, we're integrated with Encompass.
So if you're in Counselor Max, you're ultimately going to be in Compass. I know that that's not immediate, but it is integrated with Compass. I'm not sure that it would make sense to spend the time and money to integrate it with Counselor Max, since that is short-lived, if that makes sense. And did you talk about the cost of a joint credit pull?
So the report pricing that I provided, the $21.99 and $19.99 is per applicant. So a joint report would just be 2 times that applicant price. And the credit score is included in the fee as part of that. Either the FICO for $21.99 or $19.99 would be the Vantage 4.0. And the FICO model, we're not limited. It's a variety of FICO models. So if you are using 2, 4, and 5, or if you are looking at 8 or possibly 10 or 10T, those are all available at the same price point.
Okay, and so for a FICO, it's $21.99.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
And that would be for all 3 bureaus.
And that gets, and somebody wants to know that gets the score, and that is yes.
Correct.
Okay, so somebody wanted to know about if this is in place of CoreLogic. It is not. It is just an additional opportunity, and it is an additional member benefit because there are price differences if you are a NHRC member. And then there's a question about the credit expert wayfinder and what if applications. So to be clear, it is my understanding that as of December 31st, CoreLogic Credco was no longer able to provide access to credit expert. That credit expert was only allowing direct integration, that it's no longer done through any third parties like CoreLogic. So the problem with that, and we have tried a couple of times to get them to give us an alternative, but the problem is that they require that you have an NMLS number in order to access that platform. And we let them know you're going to lose a lot of people because housing counselors, for the most part, some do, but not every housing counselor has an NMLS number, and that they should figure out a way to address that. So it is my understanding that it'll have to go directly through Credit Expert. Jason and Sean, if you have different information than what
No,
I am saying.
That is correct. So our reports can be issued if you have a direct relationship with Credit Expert, but we do provide, in lieu of Credit Expert, an integration and the availability of a product called Score Navigator. And Score Navigator works very similar to the way that the Credit Expert tool does, but you would have access to that at an additional cost per report per borrower, which we can provide you some specific details on that if you're interested in that product. And I can also put you in touch with the folks at Score Navigator so they can talk to you specifically about how their product works with our system. We do have some housing counselors that have migrated because of the NMLS number issue to the Score Navigator product in lieu of the Credit Expert product.
And do you have to be HUD certified to participate?
So you have to be HUD certified and non-for-profit.
So you have to be both?
Yes. And that's a bureau requirement for housing counseling reports.
Okay. So if an organization is doing some work in the space, but they aren't fully certified yet, because I think there's probably some people on the call who are in the process of becoming a HUD approved organization. But they're doing the work, because you do have to do the work for a year before you can get full approval. They're doing the work, but they don't have that full approval. Can they participate with you in some way?
I'm sure they can. That would be up to our compliance and vetting manager. Typically, we will make exceptions for that if they are non-for-profit and they can provide us verification that they have applied for HUD certification or are
For
going
HUD,
through the
for
motions.
HUD approval? Okay,
Or HUD approval, yes.
okay. Okay, hopefully that answers the question. If the person who asked that question has wants further information, just pop it into the Q&A box. All right, we are also a CDFI looking to onboard new credit company for mortgage purposes. Are your scores and platform compliant with lending services? Our volume is different from the housing counseling side.
So unfortunately, we do not provide credit reports for first mortgage purposes. We're not, housing counseling is considered a separate permissible purpose, but we don't deal with first mortgage resell product through any of the GSEs, including CDFIs. So unfortunately, we couldn't service that business model.
Okay, and how long is this pricing good for? Do you do an annual update of your
So
pricing?
typically, we will do, and well, one of the I guess one of the benefits that we provided our customers this year is we absorbed the pricing increase from the bureaus at the beginning of the year. So our customers are still receiving pricing that was from January of 2024. So typically we do an annual assessment based during the last 90 days of the year to determine whether or not we have to increase prices or not. Typically those price increases are anywhere between 3 and 5%. But once again, it's really dependent upon the bureau's price increases to us. This year, we were able to absorb that entirely and not pass on any price increase to our customers.
Okay, so there are a few questions about, does it integrate with this? So it is my understanding from you all when we were kind of talking about all this, that you can create an API for just about any platform. And then there are other platforms that you don't need to create an API. What are the platforms where you do not need to do an API?
So that's a
Connection.
lengthy list, actually. There's probably 50 plus platforms. My suggestion would be if you are looking to determine whether or not we have an integration with that platform that's native, that you reach out to Sean directly and we answer those ad hoc. I don't want to forgive it. It would be too time consuming to list all 50, 60 platforms that we're integrated to right now.
Okay.
And there are some that I probably wouldn't even be able to list because I don't have that readily available in front of me. So I would suggest that if you have a question whether or not we integrate with that platform, reach out to Sean directly and we'll get that answer to you very quickly.
So the two that were asked about were Impact Pro and RX Office.
So Impact Pro, I am absolutely certain that we have an integration with. The RX Office, I am not familiar with, but that's part of the issue is that many of these platforms continue to change names or are incorporated into through mergers and acquisitions, through attrition. So I would have to validate RX. What was it? RX Office. Yeah, I can once again, we'll validate whether or not we do or do not have an integration with that and provide you, Ellie, with that. Otherwise, you're welcome to reach out to Sean directly with integration questions for particular platforms.
And I just want to say, I see some questions popping into the chat. So folks, if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box because I don't want to lose track of them. The chat keeps scrolling. Okay, do you provide support whenever a client needs to dispute an account and provide additional information to the housing counselor as needed?
So our reports are going to include all trade line activity, all trade line data, and the name and address of the trade line reporter. That's the extent of the data that we have available as well. So we provide that all on our report. I'm not exactly sure what additional data they would want, but yes, there are. We have a customer support division that would be able to potentially provide additional data if it's available, but likely you are receiving everything that we've received. We don't do any manual dispute and we don't do any manual updates to credit reports, simply because we just don't have the manpower to do that. So we provide in the entirety all of the report data that we have for you to work with the customer to dispute at the bureau level.
Okay, and Lou, that was Lou Savoca that answered asked the question. So Lou, if there's something further that you were looking for, just pop it into the Q&A. There's a question about, do you have a simulator tool? I think we already answered that, but go
Navigator.
ahead and restate just in case.
Yes. Yeah, we have an integration with Score Navigator. So Score Navigator would be the replacement for Credit Expert if you do not have a direct relationship with Credit Expert.
And is the upfront fee of 150 a one-time fee or is it yearly?
It's a one-time fee upfront.
Okay. And do you offer single reports like Equifax? And if so, what's the cost?
We do, and it would just be 1/3 of the tri-merge price.
And then somebody is asking what's the price difference if you're an NHRC member?
I don't know. I think they're asking what is the price to be an NHRC member? Is that maybe to join your
Oh,
organization?
you're right. So that's Tracy McGrath. Tracy, I suggest that you email Ebony, our membership guru, and she'll talk you through all of that. Is there an option to allow a client to pay the credit report fee in the event we no longer offer free credit pulls in our counseling program?
There is. We can provide you with a link that would allow the consumer to enter their own information and their credit card payment details, so you don't have to consume it within your organization for release of liability. That would allow then you would be emailed once the consumer had completed and provided their consent through that link, and that the report would be available for you to view via the web portal.
Okay, so somebody's saying you mentioned about Counselor Max Compass. Could you elaborate a little more about issues? What do you recommend or any other solutions? So Counselor Max is pre-Compass. Compass is what NeighborWorks now has as their platform. Maybe they're calling it Counselor Max Compass, but the old Counselor Max platform is going to go away, and the new platform is Compass. So if you're using the older Counselor Max platform, it wouldn't make sense to integrate anything with CRS because you're going to get moved to Compass if you aren't already there. And the CRS gentlemen say they are integrated with Compass. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, okay. Sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling through. There's some comments as well as questions. Are clients able to call your customer support department and provide the client with a free copy of the credit report? Currently, Credco issues a copy of the report the counselors pull during the one-to-one session.
So the short answer to that is no. We would recommend that the consumer call the bureaus directly, and the bureaus would provide that report to them at that point in time. We do not provide consumers with any credit report data at all, simply because we don't have a way to really validate consumer identity internally, and we don't want to put anybody in a precarious position by providing data to the wrong persons.
So somebody is asking about Encompass. Is there another platform called Encompass?
Yes, that's ICE Encompass, and yes, we have an integration with Encompass as well.
Okay. So the question is, does being a member get better rates with CRS? That is the intention.
That is correct. The rates that we're providing you are for NHRC members. So we will ask you to validate your NHRC membership before we'll provide you this pricing.
I think that probably then one of the questions may be, if you're not an NHRC member but want to use CRS, what's the price?
You know what, Sean? That's a very good question. Once again, I wasn't prepared to provide non-HRC pricing today. I can once we can get back to you, Ellie, with what that would be. But typically it's mm, just back of the napkin. I would say it's probably $3 to $4 more per tri-merge report. We've offered a pretty substantial discount to NHRC because we're interested in obtaining your company or your partner's business. Sorry.
Yeah, you can contact me one-on-one for that. It's going to depend on, again, how many reports you're running a month, which score you want to use. There's a few variables, so it'd be best to do that one-on-one.
Okay, and it looks like that's all the questions. So somebody asked, will this integrate with Salesforce? I think you answered that.
It does. So we
It
have
does, right?
we have a partnership with Credit Checker by Cloud Maven, which is directly integrated into Salesforce. We also have the ability for you to create a custom integration with Salesforce if you would like using our API. We have what's known as a Google plugin or Google Chrome plugin that allows you to order the report via Google Chrome, and then you can import that data into your own Salesforce instance if you would like. Once again, that does take some developer intervention on your side in order to parse and map that data out appropriately. But there's a wide variety of ways that you could get that data into your system.
And then I think that this relates back to the conversation that we were having about being a HUD-approved housing counseling agency versus being a nonprofit. This person asked, what if we're only doing financial coaching? And this is Elizabeth Gomez. So Elizabeth, I think the question that I have for you is, are you a HUD-approved housing counseling organization? Or are you trying to become, or on your way to becoming a HUD-approved housing counseling organization? And then if they are not a HUD-approved housing counseling organization, Jason, but are doing financial coaching, what is the status
So
with being able to, go ahead.
that would fall under the premise of credit counseling, is what they would consider financial coaching, and that is not considered a permissible purpose we can service, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh, it looks like maybe another question popped into the Q&A. How can we set up a meeting for a demo, and would that include a sample copy of the report?
We do have samples that Sean can provide, and if you reach out to Sean directly, he would be glad to speak with you one-on-one and get our implementation team involved.
Hey, Sean, can you just pop your email into the chat? I mean, we have it and it'll go out with the recording and so on, but you pop it into the chat so people can get their hands on it right away. And I think with that, that is the end of the questions, and I'm going to hand it back over to Bruce so Bruce can wrap it up.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.